Joined now by our insider, David Ornstein, live from Manchester. There is a big delay on the line, David, so we'll do our very best. We're going to start with Burnley. Sean Dyche, fired on Friday, David. One of the most shocking decisions in years. What on earth happened?
Yeah, this is the surprise news, Rebecca, that none of us were really expecting. Sean Dyche has been the heartbeat of Burnley for many years now. Almost 10 years he's been in charge. He's seen some lows, but actually more highs. He's led them to the Premier League twice. He led them into European competition, two top half finishes in the Premier League. Rebecca, there's even a pub named after him in Burnley. He's overseen the rebuilding of the training ground. And many people thought that he was their best chance of survival, or if they went down, that he would be their best chance of coming back up. But this all hinges on the new ownership, American-led ALK Capital, chaired by Alan Pace. They took over the club in December into January 2020 into 2021. And since then, it's been downhill behind the scenes because they and Sean Dyche have differing visions around responsibility, around power, around recruitment, with ALK favouring sort of younger foreign players, Sean Dyche favouring more homegrown experienced players. In fact, his head of recruitment left in that period and he wanted to go, I'm told, in the summer. But he stayed and signed a new 4-year contract. However, this season has not gone well. Just 4 wins. They're 4 points above the relegation zone. Inside the relegation zone, away from safety. And Alan Pace felt that they needed to act now or they were going down, and that this at least gives them a chance of survival. Interestingly, I'm told, the decision on Friday, when it was relayed to the players and Sean Dyche that day, it was a shock to him too, wasn't an entire surprise to the players. They were broadly supportive of it. And now they move on into the future with an interim coaching staff, including their captain Ben Mee. And I can tell you that interviews are underway for an interim manager until the end of the season. And then Burnley would like to make a permanent appointment next summer. They cannot face the prospect of relegation, these owners. They've heaped debt on the club in what was a debt-leveraged buyout. They need to stay in the top flight. So who will come in? Maybe somebody like a Sam Allardyce, a Wayne Rooney, Chris Wilder. Let's see in the coming days. But Sean Dyche is gone at Burnley, and it's huge news.
It is, and I think also big news that you said that the players were broadly supportive of that. I think that's surprising. We just heard James Tarkowski saying that it came as a shock and they weren't in support. So interesting that. There's always stuff going on, isn't there? Manchester United, it looks like in principle you broke earlier this week, Erik ten Hag is going to come in. Any more you have for us, David?
When you and I stood on the touchline at the Etihad last weekend, Rebecca, we talked about this being Erik ten Hag's decision because Manchester United picked him as their preferred candidate. Erik ten Hag has now made the decision. I broke the story on Tuesday that decision was to join Manchester United. He reached an agreement in principle, verbally, to become their new manager on a contract that will run up to 4 years. So I think it's likely to be 3 years with the option of a 4th. What needs to happen now is that Manchester United need to reach an agreement with his club, Ajax. There is a release clause, but they may negotiate separately to that, and finalise the terms of the contract and put it into ink. With Ajax playing today in the Dutch Cup final, I don't think that's going to happen until next week. Everything will be formalised. And then they can start speaking, even though he will still be with Ajax and trying to win the league title too, about transfers, about the squad, about pre-season plans, about coaching staff and plenty more besides. So Manchester United are at the end of their recruitment process. We don't know what's going to happen with Ralf Rangnick. Of course, he's in interim charge. And he may end up leading Manchester United into the Champions League all of a sudden with yesterday's victory over Norwich City. And they need to sort out the futures of key players, the likes of Paul Pogba, Cristiano Ronaldo even, Marcus Rashford. Nemanja Matic has said he's leaving. And they also want to bring players in too. They want to bring in a striker, a couple of midfielders. I revealed early last week that they are looking at possibly Darwin Núñez of Benfica, one of the 3 favourite clubs in for him. And that will be a big deal for them if they manage to get it. Meanwhile, they've got plans to redevelop their stadium. Their fans are angry and voicing it towards the ownership, the Glazer family. It's never a dull moment at Old Trafford, is it?
Never a dull moment in the Premier League, David. We could be on here all day just talking about what's going on. Chelsea, we're down to 3, right, for the new owners?
Yes, the deadline, as we revealed on NBC last week, was Thursday for best and final offers. There were 4 parties in the frame. That is now 3 because the Ricketts family, who own the Chicago Cubs, have pulled out, citing certain issues in what they describe as being an unusual sales process. Make of that what you will. But it leaves the Todd Boehly-led consortium, the Martin Broughton, depending on which way you pronounce it, fronted bid, and also Stephen Paluca, who owns the Boston Celtics or co-owns them. So it's a 3-horse race, and Rainbank, who are the New York-based merchant bank in charge of this process, are expected, in conjunction with the Chelsea hierarchy, to pick a preferred candidate in the next week or so and recommend them to the British government and to the Premier League for approval. It looks like this process is now finally coming to an end. We don't have exact dates, and it will be a tough process that the government and the Premier League go through. But it's expected to be a sale that's completed in the month of May. One thing I revealed last week too was that Marina Granovskaya, the key director at Chelsea, is wanted by all of the bidding parties to stay on in her role. She's in charge of recruitment and transfers, at least on an interim basis. And they also have so much to sort out. The futures of Azpilicueta, Rudiger, Christensen, Romelu Lukaku, even Thomas Tuchel. Will he be staying? I suspect he will, but they need to have that conversation. Meanwhile, Chelsea are on the pitch today in FA Cup action. We don't know if this will be the last FA Cup campaign under Roman Abramovich's ownership. If they lose, like they did in the European Champions League in the week, then it will be goodbye to those competitions for Roman Abramovich. This is coming towards the end of Chelsea as we knew it, but it doesn't mean it can't be a more successful or sustainable future under new ownership, and we are nearly there now.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches and much more.